Good morning, everyone. Sherry here. Welcome to my very first live on YouTube. I did start it a few minutes ago and then I had to delete it because I had a little bit of stuff going on. Anyway, welcome. I've decided to start YouTubing live so that I can have one platform and not have to send people all over the place. And this morning, I wanted to talk to you on my very first live YouTube about keeping a leash on your dog. And as many of you know, I'm writing a book on canine guardian etiquette, which is actually for the canine guardian, not actually the dog, because everything that our dogs do pretty much is up to us. So if there's something going on that's not right or not good, then it's our fault, not our dogs. So we a lot of times fail our dogs, and something we need to get better at. So this morning, as most of you know, uh, my blogs and my lives and my vlogs and everything I talk about usually is things that happen while I'm out and about, whether I'm training a client's dog or we're out, with our dogs, or um, something happens while we're out and I think I have to talk about this. So today Riggs and I were out on our walk and we were out super early, and I believe it was only like 6:30. The sun had just come up and we had decided to go on a very quiet pathway so that we wouldn't be running into other people. And it was really quiet. There was one person way up ahead of us. I'm going to say probably 100 feet. We could see them, but that's it. That's all there was. So then we see there's a guy running along the pathway, and where we were walking, one side is a very steep hill, so there's nothing going on over here. And the other side goes down, there's quite a bit of land and then a creek. So there's a wood fence along here. And then there's a kind of a dirt path that people can go on partially. So a guy came along and he had a German short-haired pointer, which I have seen him before, and he's always had a leash on his dog when I've seen him, and he jogs. And here's Elsa. If you don't know, this is my girl, 8.5-year-old standard poodle, Miss Elsa. And Riggs is outside, my other standard poodle, because he was barking and I didn't want him to interrupt my YouTube. So anyway, we saw this guy coming, and then I realized that his dog was off leash, which, you know what? It was so quiet down there. And if his dog would have stayed on the path, or even when his dog did start to leave the path to come and see us, if he would have stopped and gone back to his guardian, I would have been okay with that, which would have told me that this guy has a very well-trained dog and he's very reliable. But what happened was we kind of slowed down as we were passing, because Riggs was like, hey, there's a dog there. And he just was looking, and I tried to get him going again. And then I realized that this dog had completely stopped, jammed on his brakes, and the guy kept running out ahead of his dog, which was another big error that he should have not done. If his dog stopped to look at us, he should have stopped and stayed with his dog. So what happened then, I realized that the dog was not going to listen to the owner, and we kept moving along. I didn't want to have an interaction with this dog because I have absolutely no idea how this dog is going to behave with Riggs. And up until now, which Riggs is 1.5 years, he has not had any negative interactions with a dog, which is super important. So anyway, this dog came out through the wood fence and then started coming down the pathway at us. And at that time, someone else had come onto the path coming the other way. And we kind of raised our eyebrows at each other. And I turned around and I said to the guy, not cool at all. His dog wasn't coming fast, so I was able to keep walking fairly fast and move along. But interaction, and you could tell the man who had their dog on leash was not comfortable with it at all, because the loose dog was very large and he was very upright and stiff, and you don't want to interact with something like that. So the guy whose dog was off leash, first off, should have had his dog on leash, because obviously it is not a reliable dog. There were people around. So when there's people around and there's a leash law, you're not at a dog park or somewhere where you're allowed to have your dogs off leash, and your dog should be on leash. The only time that you're going to get a pass sort of is if you're out in a field and there is no one around, and you know that your dog is going to come. Even if you're out in a field and there's no one around, you do not want to have a dog that doesn't come, that doesn't have a solid recall. And recall means calling your dog and they come to you. And so many dogs that we've run into over the years have no recall at all. And even when, I will yell at the people, put your dog on a leash, they'll yell back, my dog will not come. I can't get my dog. Nothing drives me crazier. So if your dog is not reliable, I don't care where you are, don't take your dog off a leash. It's dangerous for them, dangerous for everyone involved. Your dog could get run over by a car, even if there are no other people around walking their dogs. The dogs that, if there are people around with their dogs, the dog that your loose dog interacts with on a leash may not be cool with other dogs. The interaction that happened this morning could have been absolutely horrible if the dog that was on leash was not okay with other dogs. So this is the thing. A lot of people will yell out to you, my dog is friendly, when they're off leash and you have your dog on leash. I don't care. I honestly do not care how friendly your dog is. We did not come out on a walk to interact with you. There are a lot of people who walk out in public who have dogs that are not dog friendly, may not be people friendly, but they are being responsible in keeping their dog on leash. Number one, etiquette, that is probably the biggest error that people make. And then after we did all this, and it wasn't a big, and across the field, at this point, we're at a big area, like where the people are really far away from us. I was watching, and a lady had a Labrador, yellow lab, on leash. And then not too far behind her, probably about 15 feet behind her, was a woman walking a white Siberian Husky. And the woman with the yellow lab just let her dog go when it saw some rabbits, and it was going crazy, chasing all the rabbits through this little brush area. But the woman behind with the white Siberian Husky was not okay with that dog being off leash. Immediately turned around and started dragging her dog backwards as the yellow lab, the woman who owned the yellow lab, was screaming and calling and realized she had lost control and her dog was not coming. So it was exactly the same thing, if not worse, that had happened down below in the quiet path when Riggs and I were walking. So when in doubt, keep your leash on. I see people walking down the street all the time with their dogs off leash, and they think their dog is so well trained. And why do I need to put a leash on my dog? For your dog's safety. There's a guy that walks down the street just around the corner from us, and he has an old dog and he never has a leash on. And I just think, why risk it? Why risk your dog? All of a sudden, one day it sees a cat across the street and bolts and gets hit by a car. It just does not make sense at all. The only time your dog should ever be off leash is when they're in a confined area, a safe area, or when there's no one around. Absolutely no one around, but it should still be a safe area. And when and if you're ever going to take the leash off out of your yard, you should make sure that your dog is going to come to you. Have a solid recall. And if they aren't, never take that leash off. It just is not worth it. So thank you for joining me on my live this morning. I hope to do this every morning. I'm going to try to come on, and I'm going to send everybody over here so that I don't have to go on all my separate lives throughout the day. And we'll see how this goes. Anyway, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.